It's the final day of the Supreme Court's term. We're watching closely as the justices prepare to release a flurry of rulings. Decisions on birthright citizenship, LGBTQ books in schools, and how to keep minors from accessing porn websites, all that's on the table. Just yesterday, the court issued a decision banning the use of federal Medicaid funds to support Planned Parenthood. Joining us now is CNN Chief Supreme Court Analyst Joan Biskupic. Good morning, Joan. Thanks for coming in.
Sure.
So one of the things I found interesting about the ruling yesterday was there's this little kind of battle in the comments, so to speak, where you had Ketanji Brown Jackson kind of talking with Justice Thomas. They were going back and forth over an issue that at first I didn't think was actually related to Medicaid. Can you explain?
Okay. First of all, there has been so much drama in the writing between those two justices and Justice Jackson and others that I'm going to be watching to see how much it bursts forth in actually the room orally today. But let me just explain what upset Justice Jackson, who dissented yesterday when the majority, with Clarence Thomas signing on, said, effectively endorsed the fact that South Carolina had pulled Medicaid funding from Planned Parenthood because it does abortions. And the question was, could recipients of Medicaid and Planned Parenthood sue South Carolina for being denied recipients' ability to have the physician of their choice, and they wanted to sue under civil rights law. And Justice Jackson in dissent said, if you are undercutting this law not to let it be available for these women and Planned Parenthood to have a private right to sue. That was the actual issue, to sue. But Justice Jackson stepped back and said, you know, historically, look at how this law has been used. Look at how important it has been to vindicate civil rights claims, and you're denying it. And both Neil Gorsuch, who wrote the majority opinion, and Clarence Thomas took issue with that dissent, both saying, you know, you're overreacting. This is not what's happening here.
This up? Yeah.
But this is exactly where the heat on this court has been joined, is that for Justice Jackson and her fellow liberals, this is not business as usual. It should not be business as usual. And I think, Audie, we've seen that play out in other cases. She has been especially vocal. You'll remember she came on in 2022, succeeding Stephen Breyer.
And has not been a shy freshman.
No, not at all. And she's, some of her, Justice Elena Kagan and Justice Sonia Sotomayor have actually separated themselves from her at times, but Sonia Sotomayor and Elena Kagan joined all of it yesterday. And I think what we're going to see with these remaining cases that you've mentioned is where will they find compromise, if at all, and will these liberals dig in more, essentially motivated by Justice Jackson saying, let's call it out. You know, we've tried to compromise. There is no middle really anymore. Let's call it out.
What's one case everybody's going to be talking about, and what's one case you know as the expert is going to be interesting to hear?
Everybody's interested in the showdown with Donald Trump over his effort to lift birthright citizenship.
Right.
That is the fact that children of anyone born here automatically become citizens, and he doesn't think non-citizens or people here on temporary visas should be able to entitle their children that way. Yes. But the real issue there is the power of an individual federal court judge at any place in the country to block parts of Donald Trump's agenda for nationwide. And that's happened not just on birthright citizenship, but many other programs. So what these justices are faced with is not just a question that has the backdrop of birthright citizenship, but the power of lower court judges to be a check on the Trump administration. You know, you've heard all these complaints about the fact that he's issued so many executive orders and that they've been blocked. That's like the first line of defense. But the first line of support for the Trump administration has essentially been the Supreme Court. And will they now empower the Trump administration to surmount these district court injunctions? So I'll be watching for that. And then one that's a really human case is one from this area, Montgomery County, Maryland, where parents for religious reasons, would like their elementary age children to not have to have instructional materials that have LGBTQ themes. And they're asking for an opt-out from that based on their religious rights, and the school district has said no. So that's one that, again, has that a real social policy backdrop too.
It is.
But as I said, what I'll be watching for is not just when individual justices read their majority opinions, but who dissents from the bench and what kind of fireworks we see in the chamber.
Okay, fireworks. Joan Piskipik, CNN Chief Supreme Court Analyst, thanks so much. It's now 54 minutes past the hour.